Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farba. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy may meet U.S. President Donald Trump in the near future, following a Christmas Day call with U.S. envoys that he said gave fresh momentum to efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine war. Zelenskyy described the nearly hour-long conversation with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner as positive, saying it produced, quote, new ideas on formats, meetings, and timing to bring real peace closer. Joining us now to discuss the situation further is Kira Rudik, Ukrainian Member of Parliament and leader of the Ukrainian Voice Party. Good to have you back on TVP World, Kira.
Hello, Sasha, and Merry Christmas to you and our viewers and listeners.
Indeed. So on that note of hope and, let's say, peace, let's look at what these new developments tell us. So what do you think? I mean, how likely is this face-to-face meeting with President Zelenskyy and Donald Trump? Could it even happen before the year is up? What do you think?
We may hope that this meeting will happen and that it will be productive. However, if we are looking at the facts, then there is not too much to be hopeful about, because during the Christmas night, I can tell you in Kiev, the air raid sirens were off almost for the whole night. And the attacks on Ukrainian cities continue. Plus, what we have heard from Russia officially and unofficially, they said that their position really didn't change from 2022 and from last time that the previous version of the plan was developed. We see no intention from them to get on with the ceasefire. There were attempts to get them to a Christmas ceasefire that obviously didn't work. So again, unless there is a silver bullet or, as President Trump says, cards in hands, that American administration is ready to put in force, to put in motion, then these discussions are necessary, useful. However, it will be very hard to implement them. Don't get me wrong. There are many things that still need to be talked about, agreed, and decided. There are things about the security guarantees, about who and how will be monitoring potential ceasefire, about what will happen with the temporary occupied territories, questions of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear station, which is the largest nuclear station in Europe. Many questions that obviously need to be discussed. But the main question that everybody's dancing around is how to make Russia stop. And I think at this point, this question is not answered. So we do not see that anything right now is bringing us closer to peace.
All right. Well, at the same time, if we look at that ex-post of Mr. Umerov, he said a lot can be decided before New Year. So let's hope there can be something concrete there at the same time. But given what you've said, there's also these new ideas. If we're talking about President Zelenskyy's phone call with those two special envoys of Mr. Witkoff and Kushner, what do you think these new ideas could be? I mean, you already mentioned territory, but what do you think could be concretely on the table that's new at this point?
I think there are details that are may be negotiated within like this latest version of the 20-point plan, because some of the most important parts there, like the security guarantees or Ukraine's sovereignty or monitoring of the ceasefire, they are just written with small one lines. And the devil is in details, and we want to hope that this is what is discussed, and it is discussed in Ukraine's favor. There are many rumors going on and speculations regarding the way of working with Zaporizhzhia nuclear station. Some say that the United States may be using it for the cryptocurrency operations or something else, and this is how it will neither belong to Ukraine or Russia. I think this is still in talks. There are some creative ideas. However, again, how one can implement it. You can have all those magic ideas, but why would Russia agree to give up on Zaporizhzhia nuclear station? And for us in Ukraine and for people in Poland as well, Sasha, the question is critical. This is the largest nuclear station. It needs to be in proper hands, not within Russia's hands, because it's just a matter of security, it's a matter of another Chernobyl. that none of us wants to happen. And it's very uncertain if Russia is able to operate properly on the station that they captured, and like which way they are going to use it in future, in the nearest and farthest future. So there are many things that we hope are discussed. The main question will remain the same on how to stop Russia, but we really hope that it's not only between Ukrainian and American delegations, that European partners are involved as well, because it is very important for this not to be bilateral, but to be trilateral discussions where Europeans are being involved. The war is on European continent. We are counting, and I'm sure President Trump is counting on European support a lot in the potential future peace. And so it's critical that they are at the table.
Mm-hmm. We've already seen that evolve, right? Because at the same time, first there was that dialogue between Russia and the United States. Now the Europeans have basically pushed themselves in. The point plans have changed. So we'll see how that all develops. So I'm curious, you mentioned energy in Zaporizhzhia, the nuclear power plant. Energy is key, not just for Ukraine, but let's zoom in on that. I mean, right now we've had more strikes by the Russians on Odessa, on Chernihiv. Tell us what this means now at this time in the winter. How are ordinary Ukrainians dealing with these latest attacks?
Well, Sasha, the reality on the ground is dire. So we have electricity in Kiev for 3 to 5 hours a day, and many homes do not have heating, so fixes are coming up. Russia is trying to destroy the remainders of our energy infrastructure and energy production, and it's getting harder and harder. For the last 3 days, the temperature went like far below zero, like -10, -12. So you can imagine that the pressure on the energy grid is higher because people are trying to heat themselves and provide warmness for themselves and their loved ones. And it is really hard, and we don't know how the next months will go on. So it's critical for us to be able to protect the remaining parts of our energy infrastructure. It's obviously where Russia strikes, because they are weaponizing winter and they are weaponizing darkness for us. And that's why the Zaporizhzhia nuclear station is so critical. If we had it in our sleeves, we would be in a very different situation, especially on the left bank of Dnipro River, in all the eastern and southern Ukraine that used to rely on these nuclear stations for energy.
Mm-hmm. And energy, I mean, this matters for both sides. This is also something that we've seen more of, I think, in this whole year, in 2025, that Ukrainians also striking back at Russian targets, recently also at those ports and oil refineries. We've seen those images. Russia has also admitted this is an issue. How much does this change, let's say, the kind of military leverage that Ukraine and that Kiev has in negotiations? It seems that this is more prominent this year. How do you see it over the last few years to now? Is Ukraine able to strike more, and does that have any impact on how negotiations are going to go?
It's very hard to say what's the reality on the ground in Russia. And I think this is one of the hardest things in all the analytics, because we have been hearing for 4 years, 11 years now, that Russia is at the brink of economic collapse. And what we still they're up and running, unfortunately. So we have to keep pushing and try to destroy their ability to fund this war. This is the key difference. Russia is trying to freeze us to death, to put Ukrainians into darkness. We are trying to get them to stop doing that, and we are trying to strip them of financial ability to continue the war by attacking their military infrastructure and oil refineries that are providing additional economic support for them. I know that our military are doing their best. We do not know at which point it will be a tipping point for Russia, that they will not be able to continue doing so. But again, to have a really good result that will really impact the negotiations, we need to be attacking from all sides, from our partners in Europe, who need to make sure that sanctions are not something that Russia is able to overpass easily, just paying a little bit extra. With our partners in the global south, who need, again, not to be on Russia's side in helping them overpassing all the sanctions from the United States and Europe. It's on our military to make it painful for them to continue attacking us. And so we just really, really want to hope that at some point all of that will have a result. However, eyes are on President Trump and his administration, on American Congress, and the sanctions that were promised to cripple Russia's economy. These sanctions were promised by President Trump many times, secondary sanctions on Russian gas and oil and to different companies. But as of right now, it still remains a threat. Of course, I need to mention here confiscation of the Russian money that are stored in Belgium and in other countries as well would be a huge step, again, on showing Russia that there will be no rolling back to normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even that has proven contentious. I mean, at the last European Council meeting, the plan did change. I mean, there is going to be some money, but not the plans, as you said, the Russian frozen assets. That didn't happen. What's also curious here, we talked about Zaporizhzhia as well. I mean, this is key. I mean, there's that nuclear energy facility there, the power plant. That's key for anything that happens in the future of Ukraine. One of the main sticking points is also territory. It's the Donbas. This is something that we don't know full details with. We know still that Putin wants all of it. Ukrainians are still holding parts of it. What do you think is going to happen in this regard? I mean, who is going to budge? Will there be some kind of new idea? Can there be a new idea? How is Donbas going to be resolved in any kind of negotiations in the next few days or weeks?
So let me put it in a realistic framework. Right now, the territories that Russia wants and that they are trying to conquer, we have 200,000 to 300,000 people there living, existing, having properties. This is number one. Second, according to Ukrainian constitution, neither constitution can be changed, nor president can be giving up any of Ukrainian territory. And the legal process on giving up, even if anybody wanted that, is a long, complicated, and requires end of the war, referendum, etc., etc. Framework number three. In this 20-point plan, there was a lot about what Ukraine should be do and that Russia will include that it will not attack Ukraine, blah, blah. However, it doesn't say anything about Russian constitution. In 2022, Russia has added 4 Ukrainian regions into its constitution: Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson. And so right now, Russia is appealing to the fact that they have already added Donetsk region, Donbas region to their constitution, and that's why they need to have it, which is obnoxious. But what will happen with the other 3? Are they going to return it back, or what's going to happen next? So this is so far the most complicated question. I do not think that either politically or personally or patriotically, President Zelensky will give up any of Ukrainian territories. And again, given that people have paid an ultimate price for our army to be where we are right now. So this, I think, is something that he may be discussing with President Trump. Putin said, from what we know in Anchorage, that he will take everything that he wants by force. We are showing the world that he cannot, and it will take years and years for him to take what he wants by force. So we just hope that President Trump starts understanding what is happening on the ground rather than listening to Putin and his negotiators about what the situation really is.
Mm-hmm. All right, so still have difficult days ahead, but let's hope that 2026, Kira, is a year where we get some more resolution and hopefully peace towards that goal. Look, we'll close it there. Thank you so much as ever. Stay safe. Thank you so much. I was Kira Rudik there, Ukrainian Member of Parliament. Much appreciated your time. Thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more news and commentary. Goodbye.